Okay, so we're going to talk about ICT paragraph format. This is how I teach all of my students to write a paragraph. It works for a lot of different situations, and it's a great way to start out. So here are some of the paragraphs that you can write using this format. There are 4 different elements of this. The first one is to introduce, or this is your topic sentence. The second one is citation, which is your quote or your evidence. Number 3 is your explanation, and then 4 is going to be your transitional statement. And of course, they all spell out ICT. So that's great. The first one, you're going to introduce your topic. This is your topic sentence. Okay? Having a topic sentence, that's the first sentence of your paragraph, and it's one clear sentence. This is what the paragraph is going to be about. If you do any type of non-fictional reading, you're going to have lots of topic sentences. Next time you do non-fictional reading, look at these topic sentences because a lot of times they're right there. So, examples of this. The first one would be for rhetorical analysis. One rhetorical device the author used to prove that injustice still exists is through the rhetorical device of loaded words. I know it's going to be a rhetorical device. I know she's talking about loaded words or he, and that's a great topic sentence. The educational system of the 21st century needs to include more technical education in order to serve its students more effectively. That would be more for like a persuasive research paper, and more technical education is one of the ways we need to serve our students better. And then the third one would be more for a literary analysis. Foreshadowing is used in the play The Mousetrap in order to effectively increase the suspense of the script. So I know they're going to talk about foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is going to be their example in this particular one. So they're your topic sentences that you can use some different examples. Number 2 is your citation. You are going to first give some context about what's going on in the book or the story or, the magazine article that you're talking about. And then you are going to quote a quality section of your text. Quality is going to be an important one here, and we'll talk about that in a few seconds. Here's an example. One argument is that trade school is more appropriate for students who prefer to work right after high school rather than sit in a classroom with 4 more years of college. I am talking a little bit about the idea of the quote before I get into the quote. Many educators and job placement professionals feel that a trade school can get an individual trained and in a good paying job quickly. Best Colleges, which is a job placement professional website, and so that's why I had those 2 sentences before this. Best College states that trade schools offer a shorter timeline to real paycheck, the most educational paths, quote, 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 quote. Best Colleges states that is known as a signal phrase, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So we have a little bit of context, then we have the quote. Couple of things you should or should not do. 1, don't drop your quote. Dropping your quote is when you don't give any background information. You have a topic sentence and you just have the quote in there. Okay, it's really abrupt. It's not a good idea. Okay, you need to give some background information on your quote. And then down here at the bottom, it shows that this is the background information I gave for my quote in the last example. There you go. Number 2, use a signal phrase. A signal phrase is a short phrase that is placed right before the quote to make the transition into the quote less awkward, okay? And in this example, I have Best Colleges states that, okay? She said that, okay? He exclaimed that. She claimed that. These are all signal phrases, and they make it a lot less choppy, and it's a really nice way to go. Cite your sources properly. Citing a source is for a separate lesson. I'm not going to get into that right now, but make sure when you quote, you're citing your source. And then use a valuable and literary quote. Don't say, he said, let's go to McDonald's. She was really mad that happened. So they decided to go down the hill. Terrorism is bad. Those are not literary quotes. Those are not good quotes to use. You need to come up with something that is an example of good literature. And no, not everything is an example of good literature. So that's for the quote. Number 3 is the explanation. This one tends to be the harder part, okay? This tends to be the longest part of the paragraph, and it should give the why and the how. Why does your quote demonstrate your idea? How does your quote demonstrate your idea? Okay? If you're talking about loaded words or good word choice, talk about the words that are being used in the quote, that and why that's a good word choice, and then how those word choices support your thesis statement. Okay? The how and the why is going to be really important here. Okay? Explain in your own words using your own ideas. This is where you demonstrate that you understand the quote and the ideas in the topic sentence and the thesis. So this is when you're going to go through and you're going to do your explanation. It's a really important part of the paragraph. Okay? And then number 4 is your transition. 1 or 2 maximum sentences. Don't have your transition be 3, 4, 5 sentences. That doesn't work. That guide the reader from your current paragraph to your next paragraph. One example. Not only was this a good thing, but also da 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 da. Another reason why vocational schools are great is because da 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 da. And you're going to transition. When you transition into your conclusion, you're going to say, like, in conclusion, here at the bottom, in a word, briefly, in conclusion, in the end, in the final analysis. And here are a whole bunch of examples of transitional phrases. These phrases, excuse me, do not always work in every single situation, so you're going to have to use these correctly. But these are great examples of transitional phrases, transitional expressions that you can use. And that is basically what you need to do with your iced tea paragraph. So now take this information and you're going to put it into practice.